Hey guys, it's Benjamin with Benjamin's Exotics, and in today's Morph Guide, we're going to be taking a look at the first 2-gene ball python combination that was ever produced on the ball python market today, which is of course the Bumblebee ball python. So let's start out by breaking down the ingredients that make up a Bumblebee ball python. So this is the Bumblebee we're going to be using for today's video. This is an amazing pastel, or I should say a pastel spider, of course Bumblebee female, that I produced back in 2019. So she's probably coming up on being 6 or 7 months old, and as you can see, I mean, for a Bumblebee, I mean, this is literally, and I'm not just saying this because it's my own production, this is one of the nicest Bumblebees that I've seen in a long time. I mean, just brilliant. High yellows. I love the highlighting that goes down the stripe of the back. Really clean pattern, not very many spots at all. And just the high whites and the yellow highlighting that goes around these stripes is amazing. Just look at the head on that girl. I love that wicked curly type head stamp. Just a fantastic colors on that girl. But let's actually look at the parents that produced that snake, because I think that not only is it important to understand what makes up a Bumblebee, how to identify a Bumblebee and stuff like that, but also since we're dealing with a 2-gene combination, we want to know the ingredients behind the Bumblebee. So let's actually set that girl to the side just for now, and let's grab the parents that produced this snake. So we'll start out with the color aspect of this morph, which is pastel, and this is actually a pastel possible het lavender albino female. She's 66% possible het lavender albino, so there's a decent chance that there's some albino or lavender albino floating around in this snake. And as you can see, mom is a really nice pastel. Lots of pastels as they get older will brown out, and she definitely has gotten a little bit darker with age, but she still holds that brilliant gold color. I mean, I really love the lineage and the genetics behind this snake, and just the really nice yellow sides is just absolutely fantastic on this girl. And this is actually the mom that produced that snake, so you can kind of see that. Then if we can keep this snake on the table, let's look at dad. And dad was just a single gene spider, and of course every time I do a video somebody is in shed that I want to show off, but this is dad. You guys have probably seen him in past videos like the Spider Mojave morph guide that we did. You can see that's dad. He's very dark, pink belly, as you can see, because he is going into shed. But overall, I mean, that guy right there is really a nice spider. Very reduced pattern, very clean, high white sides, and all of that translated to just an amazing offspring of the Bumblebee right there. So let's actually put these guys up before they get too squirmy and take a closer look at the Bumblebee itself. So like we just saw, the Bumblebee ball python is actually a 2-gene combination, and it is a combination between the pastel and the spider, with the pastel being a codominant, meaning that there is a superform, and visually the heterozygous form is something you can visually identify as a pastel. And then the spider, people are still arguing back and forth whether or not it's a single gene, like dominant, which means that there is not a super form, but when you still breed it to a normal, you visually get the phenotype that you're looking for. And with some other people, they say that there is a super spider, which is like a blue-eyed leucistic type animal. They call it like a white pearl or whatever, so it's kind of still argued. But either way, this is breeding 2 codominants together, and as you can see, really nice color on this girl. Now, there are a lot of factors coming from both the spider and the pastel. Of course, the spider is pretty simple. The spider brings in to this entire equation all of the crazy barbed wire type spiderweb patterning down the back. It also intensifies all of the white in the sides, and then the pastel actually works with the spider and makes it a really high white on this animal. And of course, the entire head stamp of this snake is completely determined on the genetics behind the spider. Normally a pastel would have kind of like, you know, just kind of an average brown head, like a Mojave or a normal or something like that. But with the spider, I love clown and spider because both of those genes add really awesome head stamps to the combinations that you can create. Sticking with the head pattern, the spider also adds kind of something lots of people don't understand, or maybe I shouldn't understand, people just don't know about, is the spider also adds some really cool color and pattern to the bottom of the snake. All that bleeding through right there, and the, you know, just kind of weird pattern underneath the snake's head. All of that kind of just little stuff right there is from the spider. It's kind of weird. It's not really something that people notice a whole lot because it is underneath of the snake's head, but still an awesome aspect of this gene. And overall, just the entire pattern is basically determined by the spider. Now let's look at the pastel aspect of this gene. Of course, the pastel brings in all of this vibrant, pretty yellow. The pastel also, like I said, works with the spider, and it is one of the reasons. The spider is the main reason that this has such a high white on the sides, but the pastel does work with that, and it bends to the spider being more dominant to the pastel, and it just amplifies the color. The pastel is adding all of the really beautiful outlining, like highlighter color, coming down these stripes on the side of the snake. And of course the pastel, I mean, just the overall color and pattern is coming from the pastel. All of the spotting is also kind of a result of the pastel and the spider working together, unlike a Mojave or a lesser where the spider and those genes would actually fight each other. You have all this really cool spotting, which at first I didn't actually like this. I thought that the spotting, I wanted it really clean, but as I've kind of gone on to breed other things, I really appreciate the, I guess, just accent that this adds to the snake. This kind of really cool, reminds me of like a Oreo type color, and the white just really pretty. And of course the pastel also on the head. As the snake ages, you can see the yellow lips on the front of that snake, just a little bit on the front, and that girl will actually light me up if she gets the chance, because she's, you know, a very pretty snake, but not necessarily the nicest out of all the ball pythons that we have. Now, because the spider ball python has been such a big controversy over the last really year and a half in the reptile community, depending on when you're watching this video, I'll talk about it really quickly. Again, like you guys can see, this snake is fantastic. If I hold it up like this, you know, this snake does not have any problems at all. I mean, you guys can tell me in the video when you see this snake do something that's so crazy that we shouldn't somehow produce spider ball pythons. Again, there's always going to be a variation in quality, but that's with everything. Because when you're breeding even normals, you're going to get some snakes that are quite normal, really good, they function, they eat, they breed, everything good. You're going to have other normal ball pythons that can have neurological problems. You have things like where they sometimes get a short jaw, you can get kinks, all kinds of defects. So when we look at the spider, this is your average spider, like you guys can see, no real problems, and I just really love what the spider does in the combination. I mean, even look at the belly, just all of the crazy pattern feeding into the belly of this snake is just absolutely beautiful. So when you hear people saying that, you know, oh, spider ball pythons are this or they're that, and they don't eat, they don't feed, they don't breed, this is living proof of that not being true. I think last year we did almost a dozen spider ball pythons. They all went to their homes, they ate, they fed great, and of course here we breed them and we get really awesome results like this. And I have no snakes here that I've personally bred that have any neurological things. I mean, I have some snakes that I have bought. I actually have one spider ball python that I purchased from somebody, and the snake had a little bit of a trauma with shipping, and because of that the snake's wobble is a little bit off. But all the snakes that, you know, if you have a snake that goes through a really horrendous weather condition where the weather is, you know, like 40 or 50 degrees, or if the snake is exposed to, you know, temperatures above 100 degrees, all of that is going to try to amplify the spider ball python problem, the neurological problem. It'll actually make it worse. But as long as you're taking good care of your spider ball pythons, I mean, this is what you're going to get. Just a beautiful, pretty, healthy snake that's going to thrive and breed great for you in the future. Now, when we talk about trying to enhance the bumblebee, as you guys can see, at this age, this bumblebee ball python looks excellent. This snake is probably, let's say 500 to 600 grams, and she is really in her prime. When bumblebees first come out of the egg, actually when you first cut them open in the egg, most bumblebees actually look like they're almost like a cream color white, and then you have the black pattern. And when they first come out of the egg, they're a really dull, not very vibrant yellow, and only as they start to get older do they get all this pretty color. If I can actually show some pictures right now of this exact snake as a baby, and as you can see, when they come out, I mean, they're nice looking, but they're not nearly as vibrant yellow as this snake. Now, as these snakes get a little bit older, they'll start to almost gray out a little bit. And when I say gray out, brown out, you guys know what I mean. They start to get more of the gold colors coming in than just the yellow on this snake. You can actually already see this snake kind of developing that a little bit. All of that. See those little hints of gold coming in on that snake, just right there above my finger. The scales are starting to turn to more of this gold color. And when this snake hits about 1,500 grams, the entire transformation of the pastel gene will be complete, and a lot of this yellow, while I hope it will hold its color, is probably going to turn to more of a gold than anything. But you still will see parts of the yellow bleeding through, and most of the time, the yellow highlights that go on the side pattern of the snake, and the yellow that you can see going along the belly, that normally isn't affected by the golding aspect of the pastel, but that is just how the pastel works. The pastel is really, I think of it as a two-tone gene. You really bring in all of these brilliant yellows, but then it's actually kind of buried under the gold pattern as the snake gets older. So what can we actually do to fix that problem? Because I mean, bumblebees look fantastic, don't get me wrong, and even as adults, I think they're absolutely beautiful snakes, one of my favorite morphs by far, but there's always something that we can do that be better color-wise on the snake, and we can always improve the color. And I think that for me at least, my kind of vision is I want to produce a snake that's going to look just like this at this age, but also hold these exact colors as an adult. You know, I've seen the Orange Dream stuff, and I really like what Orange Dream can do, but I think that Orange Dream almost cleans it up too much, and you almost get a little bit desensitized to some of these, you know, just really bright, clean snakes all the time, whereas I like to have, you know, just a little bit of this spotting, really cool Oreo type brown color coming through, and even some of this dirtiness up here. I really like this, and I want to produce this as an adult. So what can we do to actually enhance the color of this snake? One of the first things you can do is try to pick genes that are going to work with the pastel to, like I said, the pastel is a layering gene, so it brings in all of this yellow, but then it layers over a color of gold as it gets older. So we want to pick genes that are going to leave the yellow color on the snake, but strip away as much of that gold as possible. Now, one of the easier ways to get rid of all of the gold on the bumblebee, or to get a really clean, bright yellow snake, is to actually add banana or coral glow, which is something that I definitely want to do in the future. However, when you add either banana or coral glow to this combination, so you get a banana bumblebee, or let's say coral glow bumblebee, either one, the problem is that not only do you get rid of all of the gold, but you also get rid of a lot of the black. And that's one of the problems that coral glow combinations have, is that you really have to fight hard to keep the contrast, because without the black, you get rid of a lot of the bold patterning on the snake. So while you can breed coral glow or banana into your bumblebees to get a really bright yellow snake, just keep in mind that you really want to make sure that you're bringing in a very powerful, bright version, or bright line bred. I guess the only way I can say it is just a bright quality banana or coral glow, because you're going to lose all of the black, and if you want to keep a high contrast on your snake, all this black needs to turn to a really vibrant, just highlighter yellow, while the rest of this will kind of fade to a cream color as it gets older. Now, while I like coral glow bumblebees and banana bumblebees, those are definitely something that I want to produce a bunch of in the future, because they're just a fantastic combination. If you want to keep the black on your bumblebees, but still hold a lot of these brilliant colors, there's a few ways you can do this. To strip away the most of the gold that you can without getting rid of a lot of the black, I would personally recommend going more towards the fire ENCHI route of things. Again, you can put in Orange Dream to this combination, but if you do, you're going to lose a lot of the white, and especially all of this freckling that I personally, again, I used to want this really clean snake, but at this point, I've just seen too many clean, perfect Orange Dream combos, and I'm really starting to appreciate all of the speckles that you have on this snake. So without using Orange Dream, which like I said will completely rid the snake of all of this busyness, the best thing that I can say to put in would be fire and ENCHI. ENCHI is an enhancer. It won't have as drastic of an effect as the fire will, but actually ENCHI and fire work great together. One of the problems with just the fire gene is that if you just put fire into this, fire not only is going to strip away some of the gold, but will also make the yellow color go even brighter. And in some cases, that's a good thing, especially if you're working with a bumblebee that isn't quite as bright as this. The fire can actually bring the yellow to another level. But if you're working with a snake like this is already pretty bright in terms of the yellow color, sometimes fire will actually wash things out completely, and you'll be left with a snake that's more of a cream than a yellow. So by adding in the ENCHI, ENCHI is actually the opposite. ENCHI will also work to take away some of the gold from the snake. It'll work to strip down the gold layer on the pastel, not as drastic as a fire, but but it definitely will strip away some of the gold that the snake will get as an adult, but ENCHI does not basically lighten up and sometimes wash out the pattern and color of the snake. The ENCHI will actually bring in more definition to the yellow. So if you have a bumblebee that maybe doesn't have that bright of a yellow and it maybe isn't that good of an example of a bumblebee, adding in the ENCHI will actually amplify the yellow even more. So that combination between the fire and the ENCHI, they really work great together because both of them clean up the gold, even though the ENCHI will not do it quite as well as the spider or as the fire, but the ENCHI will help to reduce the washout effect that the fire can sometimes have on your bumblebee ball pythons. So overall, I hope you guys did enjoy and most importantly benefit from today's video. If you liked the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video.